It is another week of knits, and it is super chunky yarn season, and I'm super excited. So this week I've done a few knits. I finished them kind of, like basically I'm making at least 2 sets, and I haven't finished the tops yet or even started them, so it doesn't feel like they're completed, but technically on their own these are individual pieces, so I guess I finished a few things. Anyways, I do start my full-time job in like 3-ish weeks, and first of all, I am not ready to start a full-time job. I really enjoy working on off hours and just like being able to do what I want when I want, and yeah, I guess that's just the beauty of like not having a full-time job. But I'm here to tell you that I am not ready to go to a full-time job. Like, I remember in my past like internships, like it would be during the summer and it would be like you work a 9 to 5, but it was only a 9 to 5 for like 12 weeks or so, and then you would go back to school where you had like a regular like college student schedule where like you start at like 10, you finish at like 1 or something. Like you only are in class like for 5 hours rather than working for 8 hours. And I know I'm gonna miss that. However, I will enjoy the fact that like I'll be free in the evenings because hopefully I won't have too much work to work on outside of the office hours. But we'll see. That's 3 weeks in the future, so we're not gonna think about it anymore. Yeah. But yes, I am overall feeling a little bit more settled into my space. I am still like organizing yarn and just figuring out how like I'm going to optimize my room to store the most amount of yarn possible without feeling like it's just a yarn store. And my roommate just suggested that I get shelves last night, and so I'm going to have to figure out how to put up shelves, which is kind of daunting, but I do have a lot of wall space here, and I don't have a ton of decor yet. Like, I don't have any art. I did buy some art from Home Goods, but like one of the panes was broken, so I had to return it. And so now I just have like completely blank walls, and it's crazy. And I'm not a huge fan of the completely blank walls, so we're gonna change that soon. But I'm kind of just like, I'm exhausted from decorating my room for so much and so long, and like also decorating our like living room. So I'm just kind of taking a break this week, but I am starting to think about like what I'm gonna put up on the walls. And is it weird to decorate sweaters? Yeah, like they're gonna be changing too much, and I don't really want to hang them for too long, but I think it would be fun to like put up sweaters as decor. I just have to work out like how I could do that more permanently, or even like how I can like easily reach it so that I can like switch them out. Because like I think that if I decorate with a sweater or like a cardigan, I'm not gonna be like keeping that same one there forever. Like I'm gonna be switching it out every week depending on my mood and just like what I create that week. So it has to be reachable for me. I also need to figure out a better way to organize my knitting needles, because right now they're just kind of like in little box bins, and it's absolute chaos every time I try to get a new set of needles out or I try to put them back in. Like, it sticks out everywhere, I keep on tripping on needles. Like, I need a better system. And I'm thinking that I'm gonna hang them up on like command hooks or something, but I just need to get command hooks first. But it's just crazy because it feels like, I mean, I've been in New York for like 3-ish weeks now, almost like 2.5, 3 weeks, and it just feels like I'm still settling in versus like when I was in the dorms, like it would take me like a week at most to feel settled in. But I think that's because like I had to build so much furniture and like pick things out and just like still wait on deliveries and like start completely anew, because again, I flew across the country, and in the past when I moved into dorms, like I'd be able to drive my stuff up. But this has also been the longest time that I have not had a test knit that I'm running, and it's pretty nice. Like, test knits, don't get me wrong, I love having patterns to test, I love working with test knitters, but it is a little bit stressful because like I tend to check my phone and DMs in the morning, and so like that's when I just wake up, and often test knitters will like send me messages that are like, hey, like there's this typo or like whatever, and so I usually have to start my morning out like pattern editing, and I'll be honest, like I'm usually not very comprehensible or cohesive or just aware of what's going on in the morning. So like waking up and the first thing that you do is pattern editing is challenging. So it's been really nice to just wake up and like check my phone and DMs and just be like, oh, like I don't have to pattern edit. But I am working on quite a few things right now, and I do plan on writing patterns for a bunch of things. I'm just kind of giving myself a break in this like first month of New York, just because I don't know, like this is probably the closest that I'll get to like a break for a long time. Anyways, let's just get into the knits this week. So the first thing I have for you is a chunky game set match cardigan. And I haven't made the top yet, which I don't know why, because it's going to take me like not even an hour to make it, but I've just been kind of procrastinating on it. But this is in Wool & Gang Heal the Wool in Aperol Orange. And I really love Heal the Wool. It's like a super bulky yarn from them, but it's recycled wool and it's plied, so it actually doesn't pill as much. The colors are a little bit more muted than Crazy Sexy Wool, but I really like them. I think it's kind of fun though, because like the pictures are often a little bit different than like the yarn that comes, and I'm more used to Crazy Sexy Wool because I've explored more of the colors, so like I know what to expect. But with Heal the Wool, it's a little more unknown, but I really do like how this yarn came out. It's like a really fun orange, and orange is going to be so in this season, and it was in this summer too, but I'm happy. I'm making this in a medium, and I'm just making a set, and it's going to be part of my like Pantone color collection, and I think I've mentioned that in a few other videos, and I'm planning to like make an entire video on like my idea there, so I don't go too much into it here. But chunky game set match cardigan, because it's honestly been a while since I made like a chunky game set, meaning that it's been like a month. So that's not even that long, but I really do love making chunky game set match sets because they're great for the fall, and it's about to be fall because like you can layer them, they're super cute, and who doesn't love a chunky knit cardigan and top? But this is a medium, so this is about 5 skeins worth, and I just need like little less than 1 skein for the top. So I'm gonna have a little bit of leftover, and I'm not really sure what to do with it because it's like a really strange quantity to have left over. It'll be like a third of a skein left at most. I might have to get creative with it, but we'll see. I'm not gonna worry about it until later, but I am a little bit worried because I don't know where I'm gonna keep all my scrap yarn because I just don't have that much storage. So I'm either gonna have to figure it out, or I'm just gonna have to like donate it. It's cool because one of the yarn stores that I've been to in the city has like a specific like jar that you can add the scraps to, and I have been collecting them because I don't know, like I think it'd be fun if somebody like made yarn out of all the yarn scraps that I've been using. I would say looking at the pile of knits for this week, it's a pretty fall toned palette, which is strange for me because like I've honestly, like I don't think that I've ever really like dressed specifically to fall before, but this is the one exception. So this is a Braidy Bunch cardigan that I'm working on, and so it has a really fun, really thick collar, and it's gonna fold over and be really fun. But I have written out the charts, and I just need to do this one. I did most of this in like one sitting, and then I kind of just, you know how it goes, I got distracted. But I'm really loving how this is turning out so far. Like I love the cables. This is the first cable knit that I've done in New York, and yeah, I'm just really excited because I'm going to all the stores and I'm seeing that like cable knits are super in right now. Cable knits are always in the fall, but I really do love seeing all the cable knits at the city, and I'm really excited for when the weather cools down because I think that New Yorkers are gonna have really great sweater game. But yes, this is in malabrigo Rasta in the colorway Almond Blossom, and I don't know where this colorway has been all my life. It's so pretty. It's like that perfect pastel pink, and like the kettle dyedness kind of gives it like a variegated, I don't know if that's the right word, but it kind of adds a little bit more character to the colorway. But I don't know where this colorway has been all my life. Like I have like a list of my favorite malabrigo Rasta colorways, and this is pretty near the top now because it's just so pretty, and I love pastel pinks. I don't knit them a bunch, I think, but like I've always really appreciated pastel pink, or just like pinks in general. This next piece should be familiar to you because I did like document me knitting it entirely in one day. But this is a Fashionably lace cardigan Lite in Wool & Gang, Alpachino Merino, and Chestnut Brown. And this is a modified version because it's a width of a small but the length of a large, so I'm kind of calling it a medium. But it's for my cousin who's a lot taller than me, so I made it for her in one day. Cannot reiterate this enough, like I do not recommend trying to knit a cardigan in one day because even if you can, you just kind of lose your mind. Like if you're gonna knit for 13 hours in one day, work on different projects. Like give yourself a break, just like work on other things, take a walk, or just like stare blankly at a wall. Don't just knit all day. It doesn't make it that fun, but I did do it. It's honestly not the first time that I've ever just like knit one thing at a day. I do knit a lot, but like this is the first time that I've like truly documented my progress and like how much knitting I did, and I was like, huh, didn't really go outside that much, huh? But that was my goal for the day. Anyways, I really do love this cardigan. I think that the buttons are my favorite part about it because it is a neutral knit, and I don't really tend to wear that many neutrals, but when you add a really cute, like fun button that isn't like a neutral color, it makes it much more likely for me to wear. This isn't my favorite shade of brown ever. I think that I like a more cool tone dark brown, but I think that this color will look really pretty on my cousin, and it's meant for her, not for me. And I do have a little bit of yarn left over for this colorway, and so I'm planning to make a Fashionably lace top. I just have to find the time and the energy for it because I do get burnt out on that stitch a little bit, and basically I designed the Fashionably lace cardigan light version and the chunky version, and I made both of them, or I finished both of them within like 24 hours of each other, and I got really burnt out on that stitch. And now I'm a little burnt out on this stitch again, so I have to like repower and find the energy to start the top. But I'm also planning to make throw pillows for my bed, and I was thinking that I would use this stitch for those throw pillows, and even like a throw. But now, like, I really don't want to get burnt out on the stitch, but I do get burnt out on the stitch, but I really like it. So it's something that's kind of hard to balance, where like I'm trying to plan out projects and I really want to use this stitch more, but I do get tired of it. Fortunately, there is some sort of barrier because I still haven't chosen out the yarn that I'm going to use for like my decor of my bed. So there's at least some sort of time delay where I'm not going to be working with the stitch, even if I do make the pillows and the blanket in the same stitch. So somebody recently DM'd me asking me if any of my patterns could be used for like a really cute knit top that they saw. And I was like, yeah, like definitely the Starstruck top if you like take off the sleeves. And so then I was thinking like, why don't I just do that, because I think that would be really cute and it's like super trendy. It's like the kind of sweater vest and they're knitted. I think it'll be helpful if I just show you what I'm working on so far. I haven't finished it. I'm getting pretty close to finishing the front panels, and then I have to work on the back, but because there's no sleeves, it should go pretty quickly. So this is going to be a Starstruck top, but with no sleeves, and I did a few modifications in that I didn't use like the suggested yarn. I guess it is suggested, but like I would normally knit with like Melty Baby Suri or like a fluffy weight yarn to make this top, but I decided to knit it with Wool and the Gang Alpachino Merino in Sahara Dust. And I also knit it on 8mm needles instead of 6mm needles. I'm trying to get a more oversized fit than what the original pattern kind of does, so that's why I'm knitting on the 8mm needles. Because you can knit Alpachino Merino with like 6mm needles, it just creates a pretty dense fabric. But on 8mm needles, like that's I think the ideal for Alpachino Merino. I think I've done it on 10mm needles before too, and it was pretty good. But I think 8mm needles are the best. But yeah, like another neutral knit for me. But I have to finish this one soon because the weather is starting to cool off, and I do want to wear it with like trousers. But I have to finish it first. And honestly, like it's probably like an hour and a half more of knitting, and I just haven't done it yet. But I think it's gonna be really cute when it's done. Now I have an Ollie sweater, and I was basically just making this so that I could film the tutorial for it, which I'm going to be releasing soon, because who doesn't need a super chunky sweater? And my Ollie cardigan and sweater are meant to be for like absolute beginners, like if this is your first knit garment ever. And I'm trying to make sure that like, well, I did try to make sure that the pattern itself had like a bunch of images and that there's a follow along tutorial for those that are more visual learners. So I made this sweater in like 6 hours, like no time at all. Like it's super chunky yarn, it really doesn't take that long for me to knit with. And this is with Wool and the Gang Heal the Wool in golden yolk yellow, golden egg yolk yellow. I think it's golden yolk yellow. And it's kind of more of a burnt yellow. And based on the pictures, I really did think that this one was going to be more of like Big Bird yellow, another like crazy sexy wool shade. But it did come out a little bit more burnt than I thought it would. I do like the color, it's just not something that I would normally pick out for myself, I think. It does show up really well on camera, but it's a little bit different in person. But again, I really like this yarn. I think it's pretty soft. It's not as soft as Malabrigo Rasta, but I really do like that it's plied because I think that it makes it pill less. So that's something that it has over that. And I'm really excited to keep on exploring the colorways of this yarn. I just have to figure out more like fall things to knit, because I think that the Heal the Wool is a really good palette for fall, because most of it comes out a little more muted or burnt than your typical like bright neons that I would like to work with. But yeah, really this sweater took like no time at all. I started it yesterday afternoon, and then like I was kind of like messing around working on other things before I finally finished the neckline this morning. But yeah, I'm really happy that I'm back into super bulky knits because they just go so quickly and they're so cute. The only issue is that figuring out how to store them and the yarn is tricky, and especially in a New York apartment, you gotta get creative. Like, there's a lot of yarn shoved underneath my bed right now. Now, my final whip for the week is this cashmere sweater. I don't know what to call it. It's like a really fun, it's a really fun texture, and it's another top-down lace sweater, of course, but I really like looking through like stitch books and be like, ooh, like I want to knit a sweater with this one. And I think that this is a more like neutral, like chill texture and knit. So I'm excited to finish it. And I finished one sleeve last night, and I'm about 1/3 of the way through the other one. But what's fun about this sweater is that it is my first ever 100% cashmere sweater. So it's Clinton Hill Cashmere, and I don't know which colorway it is, but I'll look it up and put it in the description. And what's amazing about that is that it's 50 grams per like 90 meters. And I was really struggling in the yarn store. I was like, oh god, like each skein's so expensive. Like you better make sure that you calculate it so that you get like the bare minimum that you need. But what's amazing is that like you can knit on 8mm needles to create a sweater that way. And like I'm used to knitting with like bulky weight yarn, which is like usually 100 grams for 100 meters versus like 50 grams per 90 meters, which is like so much thinner. But like I really like the texture. Like it's definitely not as bulky as like if you knit it with a bulky weight yarn, but like I really like the way that the yarn has turned out with knitting on 8mm needles. And I was told too that like you can use sport weight yarn as the same as fingering, but also sport weight yarn as the same as DK. I don't know. I would definitely recommend that if you try to use like an Aran or like a light worsted weight yarn for like a bulky weight pattern, to knit a gauge swatch beforehand, because I think that my instinct just told me to knit a medium, even though like I wanted it to fit more of like a small. And because the yarn is a little bit thinner, like it's kind of fitting more like a small. So I guess like if you ever want to substitute in an Aran weight yarn for a bulky weight pattern, just size up one. And you definitely have to do a little bit more like knitting for like the length, just because like it doesn't have as much length per each row. But it's worth it, because like if I had made this like a bulky weight cashmere, I would have had to hold everything double, and I have to buy like double the amount of cashmere, and it would have been like the most expensive sweater I have ever knitted. Not that this isn't already the most expensive sweater I've ever knitted, but it's gonna be cashmere. And what's weird is that like this is another kind of brown knit, like another neutral knit for me, and it's a little bit weird, but I just kind of fell in love with the colorway in the store. And I think that again, like that sweater that I saw like 2 weeks ago while shopping, that was like that really beautiful oversized like cashmere sweater, has just lodged itself in my brain, and I'm just trying to recreate it in every way. And this is not the texture or this like the fit of that sweater that I saw, but it is the exact same color, and it is 100% cashmere. But I am really excited to finish the sweater because I think I'll feel like really like modern, hip, young, elegant, bougie. I don't know, it's a cashmere sweater. And it'll be handmade. But yeah, that is everything that I have for you this week. It didn't feel like a ton, but I think I've been talking for a while. I have no sense of time, it's very confusing. But a strangely more autumnal fall palette. Like, there's not as many like neons or brights as I would normally knit with, and don't worry, I'm gonna change that. I'm just waiting on some yarn. It's really strange to be like kind of building up my yarn stash, because recently I was like, oh, I want to knit a bulky weight sweater, and I didn't have any bulky weight yarn, or like I didn't have any bulky weight yarn that like I hadn't already knit like another sweater with. So I was like, ooh, like that's gotta change. Like I gotta go yarn shopping or something. But I've been going yarn shopping so much, and I've been getting so many shipments of things that I'm kind of like, I'm getting really tired of it. So I think I'm gonna have to start getting creative and just like using my lighter weight yarns more creatively. And especially now that I know that you can use like an Aran to light worsted weight yarn in replacing a bulky weight yarn, which still blows my mind. But you guys should try it. Like, you should try getting a Aran weight or light worsted weight yarn and just knitting on 8mm needles and seeing like how close it is to matching a bulky weight yarn's gauge. It'll blow your mind, I swear. It's crazy. Like, I'm still in shock. But I'm really happy about it because that means there's a whole new world of yarn that I can knit with. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Happy knitting and see ya.